Hello. Welcome everybody to this other edition of Spotlight on Gwendy Media TV. Yes, the flyer you see on the screen is all about the two amazing ladies that we're going to be receiving today on the show, Dr. Ernestine and Marilyn. They're going to be sharing with us on a topic that is very, very crucial, I would say heavy, and it's really strange because when I reached out to people concerning this topic, as you all know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. A lot of people shied away from this topic, but I'm so grateful and happy that these two amazing ladies accepted to be on the show today. So we're going to be talking all about mental health. We'll talk about the different types of mental health that exist. We'll talk about the realities in our community, the stigma that goes with it, because there is a lot of stigma around mental health, because a lot of people think when you say that you have a mental health problem that you are going crazy, which can be translated as say you go kolo or you're running mad or something like that. Anyways, with our experts in the house, we're going to be digesting all about this topic, mental health. And as you know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and 1 in 5 people experience a mental health condition. And it's important for us to learn more, share our stories, and also spread the word, because you can totally make a difference in somebody's life. We are no strangers to all the passion crimes and all kinds of suicide that has been going on around us. So as you tune in, ladies and gentlemen, please share the video, participate. We need as many people as possible live on the show today, because this topic is crucial and so many of us are facing mental health situations, or we know somebody who is facing a mental health situation. Now, before we dive into talking all about mental health, I'd like us to take a sneak peek on a little slot that we created on the show. It's called What's Trending on the Web. So let's go find out what's trending on the web this week. And when we come back, we'll be meeting our amazing guests. Don't you go anywhere.
This mighty creature, and to reinforce her regal position as a force for good. She's up here trying to look like a lion, Cameroon.
I wake up every morning, Daddy, thank you for life.
Alrighty, so welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As you must have seen on the What's Trending on the Net this week, we had so much happening just 2 or 3 days ago. What's the date of today? 22nd. So 2 days ago was the Cameroonian National Unity Day, and a lot of people were asking questions. After 4 years of the English-speaking Cameroon being in a crisis, is it okay to still celebrate 20th May? What are your opinions on that? All right, and so you saw also that we had a lot of music releases, local releases, song Magnet, and also Peka featuring Mr. Leo. They released that song Amen. We already know about Bolo by Kameni, and then we know that Can Quintus, the producer of The Fisherman's Diary, just signed his very first contract with Orange Cameroon. We saw Guanelis of Magos Mode doing fashion things, and really she's doing amazing on the fashion side over there. And we also had Saving Bango that was played on the CRTV on May 20. So that's what we had on What's Trending on the Web this week, what was trending last week. So without wasting much time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take the jingle and then we'll be meeting our guest right behind. Don't you go anywhere. All righty? Don't you go anywhere. Okay, so for some reason that video would not play, but then I'm trying again. Welcome, ladies, to the house. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you both here with us today. Thank you so much for accepting to be our guest. How are you?
We're good. Thank you for having us.
I'm doing good, Gwendy. Thank you.
Alrighty, so we're just going to dive right into it. But before that, let's hear a little bit about you. I know Dr. Ernestine and Marilyn, you both are in the health, registered nurses. So just give us a little brief about you. Who are we talking to today? Let's go with Dr. Ernestine.
My name is Dr. ErnestineNdakwah, and I am excited to be here today with you guys. I am a microbiologist, an educator, a nutrition coach, and an RN.
Bravo.
As it concerns mental health, in the field of health, we take care of a lot of patients who suffer from mental health issues. And it is something that a lot of them are also not accepting of. And they usually have a lot of difficulties believing that they're actually going through mental health issues. And with that, it makes it even much more difficult for them to get appropriate treatment. So in order for you to be healed or to get well, you need to, first of all, accept the fact that you have an issue going on. And by so doing, you will be able to get the help that you need. Because if your mental health is not taken care of, every other health condition that you're going through would not also be taken care of because you'll not be able to take care of yourself. It doesn't matter what medications you're being given. At the end of the day, if you're not able to take care of yourself, you would still not feel well. So there's a need for us to make people be aware that mental health is real. It is not something that you need to be ashamed of. If you seek the help that you need, you will get it. So as we move on, we'll talk more on the issues that surround this topic and what our people, especially of the African community, can do to get the help that they so badly need. Thank you again.
All righty. Thank you so much for painting the picture. I'm not sure why we have that echo in the background. Are you watching on another device? I'm going to ask you to turn the audio volume all the way down so that we don't hear a double sound. So let's get to MarilynNgundam. Give us a little brief about you and then just paint, just tell us what you think about this topic.
All right. Thank you. Thank you again, Gwendy. So my name is MarilynNgundam, and I am a family nurse practitioner, and I am also a functional medicine health coach in training. And how I got into all of this with mental health is I come from two angles. The first angle is that of a provider who has seen the reoccurrence over and over and over again, such that it becomes a revolving door where you're into the mental health hospital today and tomorrow you are out and I see you back again next week. And with me, it's kind of heartbreaking to know, because I know there is definitely a bright light at the end of the tunnel. People can actually get well and feel well, but they just need to seek the right help in order for that to happen. And then I also come in from the perspective of family who have had issues going through with it too. So that's how that's what brings me to my passion in talking and with, spreading the word about mental health and illness and wellness.
Wow, thank you so much. And there's a misconception about what people think, like the perception that people have about mental health. It's almost as if it's a death sentence. Like people are just ashamed to associate themselves with this topic. mental health. So, for people who may not really know what this is all about, can you tell us a brief explanation what is mental health concretely, and then we're going to move to what are the different types of mental health that exist. Maybe doctor will tell us about that.
Okay. All right. So when they talk about your mental health, or somebody may refer you to as having a mental illness, so it all pertains to things that tie into your emotional being. How are you emotionally? How are you psychologically? How are you socially? All of those things, they come together to paint that picture of mental health. So if you are unstable in one of those aspects, let's say your social well-being, you're struggling in that aspect, or emotionally or psychologically you're struggling in it, then your mental state is kind of unstable and you are at the verge of developing, or already you have but undiagnosed, mental health issues going on there.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's an eye opener, because a lot of times people feel that, oh my gosh, you need to have one kind of very serious attack, like a panic attack, or start acting strange before they start considering that maybe somebody could be suffering from a mental health condition. So, Doc, do you want to tell us a little bit what's your take on that, and what are the different types of mental health that exist commonly in our community?
So when we talk about mental health, we're talking about things that affect how you think. How are you thinking? How are you feeling? How are you socializing with other people? So over time, you may begin to realize that the way you think has changed drastically. The way you're interacting with people has changed drastically. Your emotional state has changed drastically. Those
Yeah.
are indications, those are signs that you're going through a mental illness. And it could be that you have become very anxious. Like what we have seen with the pandemic, a lot of people got to a point where they could not even step out of their homes. They were so anxious, thinking that as soon as they step out of the house, they are going to contract this disease.
I know.
Yeah, that's a mental health issue.
Wow.
People in the healthcare profession could not even go to their jobs because they were so anxious about the hype about COVID. Are you addictive to things? That is a sign of a mental issue. If you think seriously, most of the times when you went to the store during the pandemic, what did you see people beginning to do more?
They start walking away from you.
They start walking away from you, and then I realized that many people were filling their carts with alcohol.
Yeah.
So they're not able to go to work. They are staying at home. They are listening to the news, and all they hear about is the increase in the number of cases and the increase in the number of people who have died from this disease. And so what do they try to do? Drink themselves to stupor. And then when you become sober, what happens? The situation is still right there before you.
It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere. So you are becoming addictive to alcohol. There are people who became addictive to drugs because they are just trying to get out of the reality. But then at the end of the day, when they become sober again, the problem is still there right before you. It's not going anywhere. So why not look for a real solution?
Right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And then a lot of people also became very, very depressed. They're either eating much more
Yeah.
than they used to do before, or they are not eating at all. So some of these symptoms are not necessarily the same in every individual. For some people, they are, eating much more than they were doing before. And then for others, they're not eating at all. And then for some, they are just sleeping all throughout the day. They have no desire to do the things that they used to do before. So those are some of the signs
Okay.
that if you begin to see in yourself, you should know that you have a mental illness going on. We have those who
Wow.
are
I mean, just from your
schizophrenic.
explanation, it means that every single one of us,
Yeah, the
just from your
statistics shows
explanation,
that
it
one
just
in
means that
five
every
people
single one
have
of
had
us.
it. Yes, in one form or
Exactly.
another.
Exactly.
It is not a death sentence. It is not a death sentence. We all have had it in one way or another. It transcends through social class. It transcends through all ages, from children through adolescents to adults. It transcends cultures. It transcends ethnic groups. It may
Yeah.
be more in some ethnic groups than in others, but it is still
Others.
there. Yeah, you cannot escape it. There's nothing you can do to stop it. All you can do is take care of yourself and seek the help that you need when you realize that something is going wrong with you. Something is going on that is different with your psychological health, with your social health, with your emotional well being. There's nothing to be ashamed of. It is something that is real. Yes, within our community, there's a lot of stigmatization
There
about
is.
mental health issues. And that's why I know a lot of people are scared to come out. But today we are here to tell you that mental health is real. You're not the only one facing it. Even some of those people who may label you as being mad are going through some mental health issues themselves, which they are not even able to identify or for which they are in denial about.
About. Wow. And so I just want to welcome everybody who is tuning into the show today. This is Spotlight with Gwendy. Today we're talking all about mental health and the rise of passion crimes in our community, because we've seen that happening almost everywhere in different countries. It just doesn't stop. Every time there's something that keeps coming up, you see people throwing themselves off buildings and stuff like that. And these are things that could have been prevented. It could have been maybe stopped. It could have been they could have been helped, if they had had somebody to open up to, without feeling that somebody will stigmatize, somebody will look at them as a mad person. Would it not be better for you to know that your neighbor told you that they were going through a crisis, even though these days when people open up, they become the talk of the day. They use your name on social platforms to run you down and all that, saying that you're mad and saying all kinds of things. So the pressure is a lot, and we really understand that some people give into that pressure because for fear of not wanting the next person to know or call them mad or point fingers at them, they'd rather keep it inside and just, die with it or go through worse situations. So I want to welcome everybody who is tuning in right now. And as you join in, please share the video to at least 5 different people, 5 different groups. This is a crucial topic, and it's something that we face every single day. You saw the flyer put up. At least 1 in 5 people have experienced a mental health situation. So you don't have to be running mad on the street to have a mental health situation. There are different mental health situations. Even as women go through postpartum depression, which is a very common thing in women. Let's talk a little bit about that as women, because I've seen a lot of women going into postpartum depression. Can we talk a little bit about that, ladies?
Sure.
Is it considered as mental health depression?
It is. It is. It is. And that's something where, like we've said, we all go through instances in our lives where we are faced with challenges. And it is our experiences, it is those challenging situations, traumatic events Those are all things that start to build up in the back of our minds. And being a parent or a mom, as Africans, we
Right.
grow up with a certain, our culture, we know what we're supposed to do as a wife, as a mom, and everything. And so being in a different culture and you try to fit in your culture, fit in with your life here, gonna have to go to work full time and everything there within to try to incorporate, and maybe you're in school too, with everything combined together, and then you have a new baby and you cannot sleep on top of that. You can't think straight. Your baby is crying. You are short of sleep and you have to get up and take care of that baby. In the midst of it, you still have to get up and be the wife that you are. And if you have other children, you have to take care of them too. So it compounds into your
It
mind.
just overwhelms you.
It overwhelms you. First of all, your lack of sleep. You're not gonna start thinking straight. And
Yeah.
second of all, you may love your baby, but then you start getting feelings of resentment towards that baby. You don't want to
Oh
see the
God.
baby. You don't want to touch the baby. That's postpartum depression, and it is all mental related. And that's something where if you do not intervene at the right time with postpartum depression, then it progresses and then you become clinically depressed, and not just postpartum depression.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I mean, whew, I had a lady that I received on Women Mother's Day couple of weeks ago, and she
Mm,
had postpartum depression. She said that she went through a serious postpartum depression because her baby came early at 6 months, and
mm,
then the baby was in the NICU. She had to be shuttling between home and the NICU.
mhm.
Everything that she went through, she said even when she gave birth to the baby, she held the baby. Vandolin was the host of the show on the Mother's Day. She can testify to that. She
Mhm.
said she didn't want to see the baby. When they gave her her baby, she looked at the baby and the baby is so tiny, and she's thinking about a 10-pound baby that she had earlier, and then this 3-pound baby now that she was so shocked, and it took a toll on her to the
Yeah.
extent that she didn't want to see her baby for days. She wouldn't
Mhm.
touch the kid. She wouldn't go out of the room. She just stayed in the room. And
Yes.
so a lot of women go through that. And as you're saying, if it's not treated on time, it can become clinically destructive to you, right? Is that what you were
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So Doc, what are some ways that we could prevent not only postpartum depression, but just depression from not going to that terrible state where it can start getting, troublesome for the person who is for the victim?
There are many ways by which people can avoid depression or get into that clinical stage of mental illness. If you realize that you're no longer behaving the way you used to be, you're no longer being as productive as you used to be, you're feeling much more fatigued, something not just right in the way you're doing things, you're feeling, your behavior, you're constantly getting into different mood swings. That's an indication, that's a red flag that you need
Wow.
to seek for help. So the first thing you need to do is to come to the realization that there's something going on. You do not have to be in denial
Okay.
because most of the time we have been conditioned to think that mental health is a stigma. When you say you have a mental illness, you are weak. No, you're not weak. You are sick and you need help. And if you do not seek help, guess what? It's only gonna get worse. And it's gonna get to a situation where it's going to be a real disaster. We have heard of cases where women have killed their own children, they've killed their entire family due to postpartum depression. We have heard of the increasing cases of suicide amongst children and adults since the pandemic started. And in our community, where it was really, really rare to hear about people killing themselves, killing their family members, it is becoming more rampant. So guys, it is something that is real. It is an illness just like every other illness. Don't let anyone deceive you. Don't let the fact that people will look down on you and think that you're crazy make you not seek the help that you need. Because if you seek the help that you need, guess what? There are many people walking in the street who, because they were not in denial, they got the care that they needed, they are able to function again. So if you seek the much needed help, then you'll be able to find yourself on your feet again and doing the things that you like doing again. Another thing that people need to begin to do is their nutrition.
Okay. Nutrition. Wow. I didn't know
your
that.
nutrition is very, very important. What you eat, what you feed yourself with also goes to your brain.
Wow.
There's that gut-brain connection. So whatever you eat goes into your bloodstream and then goes into your brain. If you're feeding yourself with a lot of carbs all the time, your body is going to be in disorder.
Wow.
So we all need to begin to eat more fruits and vegetables, eating a balanced diet that would provide the vitamins, the supplements that our body and our brain needs to function properly. Without which, you begin to realize that there's a lot of inflammation going on in your system. You're allergic to a lot of things, and that affects you. It affects the way you function. You're not able to go out of your home because, oh, I'm allergic to this, I'm allergic to that.
Wow.
And then at the end of the day, you find yourself being isolated.
Yeah.
Isolation is not a good thing for your mental health.
Okay.
You need to be amongst people and positive thinkers who would help you too. Yeah, so
That
I'm
is
not
so true. Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of nutrition, what you also feed your mind on is very important. What are you listening to?
Bandolin Kiawi, you can agree with me. Yeah.
Who are you interacting with?
Yes.
Are you interacting with those people who continue to beat you down? Or you're interacting with the people who would empower you, who would motivate you to seek the help that you need, who would give you the encouragement and the reason to continue to push on? What are you listening to?
Yes.
What are you feeding your mind on? All of these things determine what you meditate on, because what you feed your mind on in your quiet time at the end of the day is what you would meditate on.
Wow. Well, that's really, really powerful. Thank you so much, Doc, for bringing those clarifications, because one, I'm learning so much, and I'm hoping that everybody who's watching is learning something. If you're learning, then make sure that you're sharing this information. Invite at least 5 people to watch. Share with 5 people and invite them to watch. And for those who are just tuning in for the very first time, this is Spotlight with Gwendy. On this program, we have conversations with people, personalities, and professionals whose stories and experiences can inspire and empower. And we're on every Saturday for 1 hour. So if this is your first time tuning in, please drop your bags right here. This is family. We love you and we appreciate you joining us today. So make sure you follow our pages on all social media and especially on YouTube. Turn on the notification, subscribe so you never miss out on any of the programs that we have. That said, let's continue talking about this topic. Doc, you just opened my eyes on so many things that I never knew about. I didn't know that food has a connection to mental health. I never even knew. I mean, of course, I knew that the people you listen to, the things you watch, it's just like if you keep watching movies on snakes and all that, you're going to sleep in the night, you have nightmares, and snakes will be following you. That's what happens to me. So I try not to watch those kind of scary movies because I would never sleep. I would just be seeing all those things everywhere. And then the next thing you say, oh, my uncle in the village, my auntie in the village. Those are just the reaction of things that you watch, what you spend your time doing, listening to. You're listening to, oh, witchcraft story here, or these are the next thing you'll be sleeping in your mind because you've already started being so scared. You start pinning people in your family, somebody has said something to you, you just pin it. Oh, this person surely, you know, and so all of that. So let's talk about the misconceptions that surround this mental health.
Before we move on, can I please piggyback on something which
Yes,
Dr.
yes,
Ernestine said?
yes, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so with what she just talked about the connection with food, I would first of all want to say that if anybody you're feeling anxious or
Yeah.
depressed or having mood swings, it is not your fault. It is by no means related to anything that you did. Okay, so it is, for one thing, our sleep is very important. We have gotten to a place where we are all busy. You can show me one person in America or wherever who will tell you, no, they have time for something. We are all
There's
busy
no time. Yeah.
running around, doing one thing or the other, and we're catching what, 4 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep here. That is the number one way that you get yourself in trouble, lack of sleep. Lack of sleep, it turns your hormones out of place. Lack of sleep, it turns on your stress hormone. And your stress hormone being high up, it messes with your thyroid, and your thyroid hormones that in turn mess up with the neurochemicals in your body. And those are the chemicals that are responsible for how your mood is, for how your behavior is. And like Dr. Ernestine mentioned about the gut-brain connection, it is that the brain listens to your stomach. We would first of all ask anybody out there that would tell you, oh no, my brain is the one that informs every part of my body. No, your stomach informs your brain.
Like a hungry man is an angry man. You get upset when you're hungry, right?
Yes. So
like kids cry when you're hungry. Yeah.
If you are feeding yourself crap stuff, if you are feeding yourself unhealthy things that lack calories, that are full of calories but lack nutrients, it is translating to your brain. Your brain is listening to it because you're feeding your body information. Your body takes the information from that food that looks like a toxic thing and turns your body toxic. And for one thing, if you are suffering from, you feel depressed and you feel like you're having a fog over your brain, you feel like you're having a lot of anger issues, number one thing that I will tell you to look at is your diet and look at gluten. Are you eating a lot of things that have gluten in it? That's your number one problem. What does that do? You eat a lot of gluten that comes from wheat and processed carbohydrates, refined carbohydrates with all the bagels and all of that.
Oh my gosh, bagels.
It gets into your stomach and it releases a protein called zonulin. And what does zonulin do? Zonulin causes, it disrupts your stomach. Our stomach is a closed system that there shouldn't be a gap within our stomach that will allow anything you eat to seep into your bloodstream. But when you eat gluten, it makes your stomach liable to break out. It becomes loose. The bonds in your stomach become loose. And whatever, it can be a bacteria, it can be a virus, it can be a parasite, it seeps into your bloodstream. All of that information gets transferred to your brain, and you start getting all of those symptoms of, okay, my body is inflamed, you start getting anxious and everything like that. So your diet is critical.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. I am surprised. I am not shocked, but it's interesting to see the connection. And I love this comment here by Ngala Means. She says, so amazing how everything is interconnected internally. And these are things that people have no idea about. I'm learning a lot about this right now. I've never known that kind of connection exists, and that sometimes I could just feel anxious or upset. It might just be because of some of the things that I eat. Gluten, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Wow, thank you so much for throwing that light. And I'm hoping that people are learning something, guys. Are you learning something today? pump hearts for our doctors, our professionals in the house, for sharing so much knowledge with us on mental health. This is something that affects 1 in 5 people in the community. That's a lot. That's it. The margin is so small, meaning that just every one of us is experiencing that. There are people that just cry for no reason. Like, you just sit down there and you just feel overwhelmed and you cry because you're sad and all whatnot. And the next thing, if you don't take care, you could find yourself trying to hurt yourself. And so once those things start reoccurring a lot, you should be able to seek medical attention. So, Doc, let's go back to you. We're talking about some of those misconceptions that people have about mental health. Is it always linked to madness? Because it's crazy how in our community, people always just feel that, you know, if you have a mental health condition, if you come out openly to say that you have a mental health condition, then you're soon going to the street to start picking, you know, things on the road. So can you clarify us on this misconception that a lot of people just find themselves into?
I think the issue is finding ourselves in the community in which we were born into. We have been conditioned to believe that there are certain topics that do not need to be talked about. And so we grow with that perception, and we continue to transfer that to every environment in which we find ourselves. Let's say I'm faced with a mental health issue. I try to talk to one family member or two. All they tell you is, no, don't talk about it. That is not true. The people in our community.
That also you don't Chris.
Yeah. It is not real. And then before you know it, you become really, really sick. You go downhill. And then they start pointing fingers, witchcraft. No, you don't have any mental health issues. So and so did this. So and so did that. And so instead of addressing the real issue, we start creating other problems within the community. So mental health is something that is real. There's nothing to be ashamed of. A lot of people are going through it, and people are really good at hiding it, which really does not help them. Because at the end of the day, guess who suffers? You suffer the most because you're not seeking the help that you need. It does not only affect your mental status, because if you're not well up there, guess what? Everything around you suffers as well. Everything starts going downhill. Before you know it, people can no longer keep their jobs.
There you go.
You have a very good job, you lose it because you are no longer being productive, because your mind is all foggy and clouded. So why go through that when there's help out there? Why listen to the naysayers who are telling you don't say anything about it?
Mostly family members, you know, because in their minds, they don't want to be known as, and I've seen this in our African communities where, you know, somebody could be suffering from a mental health, you know, basically just going on and off in their mind and stuff. And they don't want anybody to know because they feel that once people get to know, the men will not want to marry from that family. You know, that's like, they'll be like, hey, no even mention them. No mention them, not even talk, no open your mouth, no talk.
Yes,
you know,
it is.
Because they're afraid that maybe they're going to lose all the suitors coming to the family to marry the women, because they'll say, oh, do you want their mommy be don't Chris? You know, because the moment you just mention that, oh, you know, sometimes I just feel really overwhelmed, I just cry, and they would just know that, oh, the next thing that say, when I know say the mommy for the place, so that mommy don't start Chris now. So that picking, and so there's no good news in that. So as a doctor, what are some steps that people can take just basic steps, like if they're feeling all this overwhelm and all of those things, like what are some of the things that they can just do immediately to seek help in a safe way that would not have some negative repercussions on them? What would you advise?
I think the safe way of doing that is trusting your doctors,
Okay.
trusting those involved in your care. If, say, for one reason or another, your immediate environment or surrounding has not been that conducive and you are not trusting of the people around you. But
Okay.
what I really want to emphasize is the fact that as individuals and as families, we need to come to a place of recognition and of realization to be able to identify when our family members are suffering from a mental health issue. And rather than stigmatizing them and calling them crazy and calling them all sorts of names, give them the support that they need. People with mental health issues need a good support system. Be it from your family, be it from the church, be it from a medical team, be it from the community. We need to come to a place where we can support people who are suffering from this illness. Because if you look at it at the end of the day, people who have cancer, most of the times, have mental health issues going on because they are losing their normal lifestyle. They have to cope with this new disease. That's not something they ever thought they were going to have, but here they are having to deal with this. They, instead of going to work or do other normal activities, they have to spend a lot more time in the hospital now in order to get the follow-up care, to get the radiation, to get the chemo and all sorts of treatments, even surgery that they need. So they are losing their lifestyle, their normal way of life. And at the end of the day, they don't feel like seeing their friends anymore because they are constantly sick. They are constantly in the hospital. They don't feel comfortable talking to their old friends because they feel like they are left out. They are all alone at this point in time. So if you call up a friend and for one reason or another, they don't return your call after a couple of times, check on them. Try to find out what is going on. There's something definitely going on.
Yes.
Especially now during the pandemic.
That really, yeah. I should call on all my friends. Guys, call all your friends you've not talked to for a long time.
For a long time, there's something going on in their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm speaking from a standpoint of experience too, with my family. Wow. Sometimes people call you and they just feel like you don't want to call them, but you don't know what that person is going through at that point in their lives.
Very true. Wow.
You don't know what they are actually going through. So how you approach them matters. If you approach them from the standpoint of love, they'll open up to you. They'll tell you exactly what is going on. But if you call me and you have already condemned me, you don't expect me to tell you what I'm going through.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you have already passed judgment on me.
Yeah.
So we need to be mindful of the way we approach people because we don't know what people are going through at that particular point in time. So that is very, very important because it encourages them and it will determine whether or not they should open up to you. So that is a very, very important step.
Yeah.
That would help people get the help that they need.
Okay, wow. So ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Spotlight with Gwendy, and today we're talking about mental health, and we're also going to talk about passion crimes related to mental health on the rise in our community. As you all know, the month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month, even though people really don't want to talk about it. I'll tell you that I reached out to a couple of people to talk about this topic, and people were like, oh my gosh, no. It's like, if you want to talk about it now, you're part of the mad people. It's crazy. It's how, like, it's a little weird how people react because I reached out to a group of women, and I was like, if they were just talking about something else, you guys would be pumping advice, pumping ideas. When it comes to something really valuable as mental health that is taking people's lives, that's making people commit suicide, murder, and all whatnot, nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to be associated to it. Nobody wants their name to be mentioned around it. And so some of the causes of mental health in our community is the social media. It's crazy. These things that we see on social media are people who actually put themselves through a stretch and then they end up depressed. And then we also have some, things that people say about people on the internet. Like maybe you're going through a divorce or something happened to you and people turn that into a mockery. And you would see it's so funny how people will be so quick to go there and judge whoever it is that they are burning on the stand. Basically, the person that's on the hot seat, everybody will be bashing them and saying all kinds of things about them. What do you have to say about some of the pressures that arise from around us, from social media, from other things that could lead to depression or mental health instability?
That is
Can you?
that is something really, really very important, which I would say you really have to know exactly who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You really have to know who you are and rely on that, because if you don't definitely know who you are, that can lead you to fall prey of whatever that is out there, be it on social media or
Mm-hmm.
be it you trying to live up to something that you're not. But if you definitely know yourself, you know your limits, you know to recognize when it's above your league and just
Mm-hmm.
end right there. I think that would be a good starting point for everybody to try to keep your safe, keep
Mm-hmm.
your guard safe
Yeah.
to protect yourself. But then when you're kind of lost and you don't even know who you are in the first place, that opens you up for trying to go above your means or trying to force things that should not be in the first place. And that's how you end up where in a place that is not conducive for you. Um,
Yeah.
because how does this all start? It starts by you having, let's say you have a dysfunctional family where things are not going right in there. Let's say you had some childhood traumas growing up in your life. All of those things,
Abuse, all of that. Mm-hmm.
yes, those are all of those things go together. And from where we come from, people they have sort of normalized all of those abnormal things, verbal abuse, emotional abuse,
Mhm.
you name it, sexual abuse, it's all there. But we have
Yeah.
sort of grown to normalize it and be like, yeah, that's okay. No, it's not okay. And that's how we end up where we are. And we need to get to that place where we recognize it and open up to talk about it. Even with the crisis that is ongoing, before we never used to talk about it. And when I think about the crisis situation now back there, I start to think of how worse things have gotten and how the state of people's minds are in this
Yeah.
situation, being that we never used to talk about it, and how bad can it be at this point. And we can only count on God that we get to that place where more people can talk about it, they can open up about it, and that's the only way that we learn and know that it is not a thing of witchcraft, it is not a thing of you going crazy, it is a thing of you finding the support that you need so you can live your best life.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of times people should know who they talk to about certain sensitive
Mm-hmm.
things,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times you feel that, oh, this is my very good friend. But we've seen a lot of homes get, destroyed because of very good friend relationships. Like you go open up to your friend about problems you have in your home. The next minute, your friend is talking to your husband behind your back. And then the next minute is something else, So you need to know who you're talking to, who you're sharing your difficult moments with, like certain things that, because a lot of times, yes, we know a good thing will be for you to speak up. We are encouraging everybody to speak up, say something. If you realize something, you notice something, say something, but who are you talking to? So that brings us now to the next point that I want us to talk about. Like, what are some of the practical things that people can do? Some people want to cut their hair. I did that at some point in my life. I was moving out of a relationship. Some people want to completely move away. But do these things, like, what are some practical things that people can do to, help their mental state, like just take off their mind from that, maybe before they get into the medical side? Just practical things that they can do to help, their psychology. Doc, if you want to talk about that.
I think people respond differently to different situations.
Okay.
And like Marilyn already said, you have to first of all know who you are. And as soon as you realize that there is something going on and you want to get past it or overcome it, you may not necessarily need to tell somebody your whole story about what is going on. But instead of keeping it to yourself, being isolated, you need to begin to get out more.
Okay.
You need to begin to get out more, because if you continue to stay in isolation, you continue to consume yourself in that situation, in those thoughts.
Okay, I don't want to cut you short, Doc, but I just thought let me drop in, right? You're saying that instead of keeping it inside, it's better for you to say something. But what if the people that you're saying it to, because we've seen a lot of people's situations turn around and it becomes a mockery for them, and it instead pushes them to an early grave because now they're exposed, basically. So, is there a possibility? Are there centers? Are there numbers? Are there like a safer place where they can actually, open up and talk about what they're going through versus just telling anybody about it?
Yeah, I have seen situations where people have confided in their pastors. I have seen situations where there's a suicide line where people need to call in, or if you suspect that somebody is going through something and they have told you that maybe they are planning to kill themselves, you call into that phone line and tell them who that person is and that person needs help, and they come to that person's aid. When it comes to speaking up, if you don't feel comfortable opening up completely to somebody, just trying to talk about something else could help, because you're not staying on your own. You're trying to talk about something else and take your mind away from it before it gets really worse. You're trying to
Right.
distract yourself from that situation.
Mhm.
Go somewhere. You do not necessarily need to go to where, maybe say you are in a relationship and you need to go to a particular park, or you need to travel somewhere with that ex that you're trying to avoid or forget about. Try to get yourself more involved in the things that you love doing.
Okay.
By so
Mhm.
doing, over time, you realize that you're gradually forgetting about it. Get yourself into other activities that will distract you from constantly thinking about those things
That
that
depress you, that weigh you
depresses
down.
you. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Doc, for that clarification. I'm going to take a few comments here. This one's from Kyra and Jean Joe. She's watching us from Sweden. She says, right, doctor. I felt so depressed at one moment, and a better therapy after crying was me going to Mother Nature. I went out to the forest, talked out loud to myself, and I was filled with new energy. I felt really good. Wow, that is really good, Kyra. That is really good. This one from So Roy, I've been seeing, I think there's a lot of messages from this person. He says, my life has been ruined. I don't have a house, a car, just eat to live. Okay. So I'm thinking that this person should be going through something here. We have the Goreti show. We will really need to invest in mental health services post the crisis. Yes, that is so true because, as we said, a lot of people may not know it, but 1 in 5 people have gone through a mental health situation. This is from Tata Isidore. He says, hey, good evening to everyone in the building. Kyra, I think she was responding to what you talked about, Marilyn, where you talked about self-rediscovery. And I think she's agreeing with what you said. We want to say hello to Mama Florence Ekukobe, who is watching us. Thank you for joining the show today. Awa Bright says, you just relax, okay? Because if you don't really take care to avoid certain thoughts and stuffs like that, then you can still get into it even as a single person. Mm-hmm. So I guess this is somebody who is, trying to be perfect before marriage. But you know what? If you're not able to fix your mind, even when you get married, that's not going to make you feel happier, right? Mm-hmm. Like some people feel that, oh, when I get married, I think I'm going to be fine. I'm just stressed right now because I just need to get married now. That's why I'm stressed. So that was a good side comment there, Awa Bright. This is from Ngala Mim. She says, it can happen after losing a loved one, grief. Mm-hmm. I went through that myself. I was depressed. Seriously, when I lost my mom, I went through a deep depression. It almost took my life away, but I'm very open to talk about it because I had to, just look at my life again, just think and reposition my ideas and focus on the things that make me happy, focus on the happy memories that we had together. And I was able to go tap back into that energy. And that's something that I was teaching my ladies, just last week on staying in your peak mode, that mode where you're happy, that mode where you're most productive, that mode where, your mind is just like what you were saying here. Both of you talked about it. Like, it's so important you can watch some movies that are empowering to you. If you're a Christian, you want to follow some motivational or just some scriptures that empower you and stuff like that. So those are things that you can do as well. Here we have this comment from For Real. We don't give them the support they need. So I'm thinking that that's for those people who bash others or maybe who mock others who are going through a situation. Vandolin says, we often hear things like madness runs in their family, which is really crazy. I've heard that before. I mean, a lot of times they'll say, oh, that family, don't even go there. Madness runs in that family. So it's all about the same kind of things, right, Doc?
Yeah.
So we see here, our Ray is watching. That's my brother from Maryland watching. Claude Songe is watching from Paris. Hello to you. Thank you for joining. What questions do you have about mental health? Or do you know a situation that we could talk about with Doctor here, just for some clarification? So amazing how everything is interconnected internally. And I think that this comment came when you were talking about the gut being connected to the brain. I had no idea about it. Edong Sylvie says going to the gym or doing some physical exercise can help, right? Those are things that can really help you. Kiara says again, as a Christian, my greatest motivation has always been worship and the thought of my kids, being strong for them. That's powerful. So, Doc, what do you guys have to say? I think that people are really sharing some of the ways that they're able to overcome, depressive mindsets and all whatnot. What do you have to say about that before we move on to the next thing?
I think it's a good thing that people are beginning to talk about it. And as people continue to talk about it and encourage one another, we'll realize that there are some people in the background who are probably also watching and they are not commenting, but they are going through mental health issues. And trust me, they are taking note of what people have done that has helped them. And they will try to do a similar thing. So it's a good thing that we have started a discussion on this topic. And my hope is that we would continue to do so and that through this, people would feel comfortable enough to open up and seek the help that they need.
Wow, thank you so much, Doc. So I'm going to put up some pictures here because it's just been so increasing in the community lately. These are things that we've always heard from the other side, but now it's beginning to hit home. Passion crimes. Are these passion crimes related to mental health, or is it just abuse? Because there's all of these things that I'm going to put up a couple of pictures here, and I just want us to talk about it, touch on it, just like that. Like, what could be the cause of some of these passion crimes that we see? So here we have this one. It say a man kills Cameroonian lady with pregnancy and cut her into pieces. Oh my gosh. Okay, that is increasing a lot in our community. So here we see here, this one is from InstaGist Nigeria, trending on social media. Um, Africans, we can do much better than destroy one another. Cameroonian engineer based in Australia kills himself by jumping from a tall building. And then we have this one here. This is a man who killed his wife and child. Uh, yeah, these are such painful. They're painful. They're disturbing. I know earlier on in June, this was really started in June when we heard about this Cameroonian couple. The man killed himself, killed his wife, and killed himself, leaving 3 kids. And it has just been rampant. It's just a chain reaction. Like, what is going on, and what can we do on a personal note? Just a personal level to stop crimes like that from getting to that point where this person kills this other person and all whatnot. Like, what are your thoughts, Marilyn, and then Doctor?
So basically, when I look at all of those things, someone might say or think that they're not related to any mental health state, but they are.
Mm-hmm.
They are connected, because if you want to start thinking about what dynamics has been going on in that home,
Mm-hmm.
definitely I would say there've been some dysfunctions going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And when things mount up and you don't handle them correctly, and you lead to outcomes like all of those, suicide and all of those things. So abuse, stress within a marriage, poor communication, and all of those are all compounding factors. I believe that all of those instances, either one of the spouses involved must have been dealing with some mental health condition or the other. Either
Mm-hmm.
it had been diagnosed or undiagnosed.
Yeah.
So they were definitely dealing with something, and they didn't seek the right help. And it
Mm-hmm.
escalated to that point where they resorted to those drastic measures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Doc, what do you have to say about this?
I also think so because somebody just not does not just get out of bed one day and
Mm-hmm.
decide to kill their loved one.
Yeah.
This is somebody you loved,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden you do not only kill them, you cut off their body into small pieces.
How?
How does a normal human being begin to do that if they are not completely off upstairs? There's something going on upstairs that was either diagnosed or not diagnosed,
That
like
plan.
Marilyn already said, because you don't just get up in the morning and decide, oh, today I'm going to do this. This is something that has been ongoing. This is something that they have thought about. This is something that they have meditated on. And they finally got to a point where they could no longer take it. And they thought that was the only solution. That would be the only solution to all what they have been going on. And most of the time, it is that voice in their heads telling them, this
Voice
is
that
the
has been
best thing
talking.
for you to do. Yes. Are
Go
you
ahead.
hearing voices in
Say
your
it
head?
now.
Yes. What are the voices telling you? Do you want to continue to listen to those voices? Why not turn your attention to something else? Why not tune on to the radio and listen to a motivational speaker? Why not listen to a gospel song?
What about cases where people are thinking that, oh my gosh, maybe it's just a phase? Like you see your husband or your wife getting so mad, but you can't think for that moment that it's going to escalate to where it escalates. And you're telling yourself, oh, I don't want people to say that I'm separated or I'm divorced, or I don't want to be single with these kids and I'll stay for the kids' sake. And then the next thing we hear something worse happening. This comment right here by For Real, apparently, also it looks like this is a case of somebody that one of
Advice for
those
the wife
the
and the husband
situations.
couldn't take it.
The
She
husband couldn't
immediately
take
called the
it. She
police and
immediately called.
killed him. Immediately he
Okay.
saw the police, he killed himself. Yeah, this is
Those
unfortunate.
are all instances where I believe that we need to come to a point where once you notice those things, it's not you thinking this is all a phase. No, it is not a phase. What are you doing to kind of help out of that phase? Because if you notice and you say it is a phase and you do nothing about it, that's how it's going to just escalate to that point where it's chaos. So it
Wow.
is a phase. Yes, it's a phase. Take a step to handle that phase so it doesn't escalate and de-escalate the situation.
Yes,
Wow.
and I know there are situations where the one partner recognizes that there's something going on and tries to talk to the person who is actually going through that crisis at that point in time. But they are in denial, they are at the denial stage, and they still do not want to step out and seek for help. And sometimes it is really, really difficult because you cannot force an adult to seek for help that they really do not want. That puts you in a tight situation. But unfortunately, you have to do something
Yeah.
to save yourself from that situation.
We have this question here on the screen from Mama Florence Ikukobe Folefa. She says, what advice would you instill in individuals to watch out for the different behavioral patterns that indicate that a problem is coming? Like, what are the things that you might just pick out? Like, what if something is happening to your neighbor? What are some of the red bulbs, like red light, like, hey, something is going on? What can people watch out for?
You have to look at the situation, the season in which that person is in the first place. And did they just lose their job? Did they just get diagnosed with a terminal illness? What
What
are
if
they
it's
going
just
through?
a couple that is quarreling all the time and you get worried, but you don't want to be the bad neighbor who said something, because people, they get scared like that. Like, what are some of those signs that you might just be thinking that this person could be going through something? I should say something without looking bad.
If they are no longer doing what they used to do,
Okay. Yeah.
say they love traveling, all of a sudden they drastically just stopped, and no matter what encouragement you're giving them, they have no pleasure in doing it anymore. Are they eating excessively, just eating themselves to death all day
Putting on
long?
too
All
much
what they want
weight,
to do
losing
is
weight.
eat. Do they just feel like sleeping all day, not wanting to do anything?
Okay.
Are they overly anxious over any and everything? Those are some of the red flags. If they're just doing things out of proportion, out of the way they used to do things before, those are red flags. That is something going on.
And I
Wow.
would say that we should learn to listen to our intuitions because
Very
within
important.
us, it is very powerful. Sometimes we tend to blow it off. 90% of the time, if you think something is not right, it is definitely not right.
Okay, so there we go. We've got all these great tips that our doctor and Marilyn have been sharing with us today. Mental health is not just for them. It's not just for the next person, for your neighbor. It's for every one of us. And I'm just going to put up that flyer again, just so it sinks deep into our heads, into our hearts, into our lives, that 1 in 5 people, that is such a small margin, meaning that every one of us is prone. We've experienced a mental health condition at one moment in time. And if it continues, if it persists, if you're in a state where you're just so depressed, so sad, something is just not really the way it used to be, and it keeps continuing, if it's persisting, you might need to talk to somebody before it goes out of hand. Wow. So, Doc, before we go, any advice or last words for, people who are still keeping it inside and not really courageous enough to go out there and say something to someone?
Mental health is real. It is nothing to be shy of.
Mm-hmm.
It does not mean that you are weak. It is not witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
It is something that if you do not take care of, it's going to escalate to a situation that you yourself would not like, because it's going to go offhand.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not taking care of your mental health, you will not be able to take care of anything else. You will not be able to take care of your finances. You will not be able to take care of your job. You will not be able to take care of that home. You will not be able to take care of your family. You will not
Right.
be able to take care of anything. And before you know it, everything around you is going downhill.
Hmm.
So you don't want to find yourself in that situation. If you come to a point where you realize there's something going on
Mm-hmm.
that I can't place my finger on,
Mm-hmm.
please do not be in denial, because it is real. It is real. Seek help. Seek help. Help is out there. Speak
Yeah.
to someone.
Say
Go
something.
somewhere. Don't keep to yourself. Keeping
Mm-hmm.
to yourself will not help you. Be mindful of what you feed your mind on.
Hmm.
Be mindful of the people you
You
keep
talk to.
as company. Be mindful of what you feed your
What
body
you
with,
listen to.
your
Yeah.
nutrition. Yes, your nutrition is very, very important. So take care of yourself.
Thank
If you
you.
take great care of yourself, everything else would be fine. And above all, please, for those of us who have people who are suffering with mental health issues, let's be supportive. If you know somebody who is going through a mental health issue, don't beat them down. Don't mock at them. Don't laugh at them. That is not a good thing to do, because guess what? You may get up tomorrow and God
It
forbid
happened
you're
to you.
diagnosed.
Somebody
Yeah,
you know.
it
Yep.
could be you tomorrow.
Yeah.
You never know. You do not have to be born with a mental health issue.
Mm-hmm.
Life circumstances may lead you down that road. You may become seriously ill and you find yourself being depressed. You may lose your job
Mm-hmm.
and you find yourself being depressed. You
Yeah.
may lose a loved one and you
Yeah.
get into a serious depression. So please be the support system that you would want others to give you to those who are suffering with mental health. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doc. Wow. Marilyn, in
Yeah.
conclusion, what would you want to say? What would you want people to remember as they leave this discussion, as they leave this conversation? What should be that one thing that they're taking home that they're going to be changing or making a
Yeah.
difference about?
The one thing that I would want to say, which Dr. Ernestine has probably already said it, but we're gonna keep echoing it and echoing it and echoing it, is that your sleep is very important.
Wow.
That's what you're feeding. You're feeding your body. Feed
Mhm.
yourself good stuff, physically, emotionally, psychologically, and that entails all your nutrition. And you don't need to shout out of a mountaintop. There is definitely one person out there one person, which they can just one. All you need is just one support person. You don't need a whole market. And I'm pretty sure that if you're going through something, you definitely have a friend or a family member, one person that you can absolutely count on just to lend a listening ear. They don't have to say anything to you. They just listen to you vent out. That
Mhm.
is very important. So we should all go out there and get us our one person who is our accountability buddy that you can
Partner.
all, yes,
Yes.
you can always check in with that person. Always make sure you stay in touch with that person once a week at least,
Mhm.
just to keep yourself in check. Because
Wow.
like you all said it, people don't have marks on their faces who would all have mental health issues. At one
Yeah.
point, we all have our lows and we all have our high moments. So it can be any of us at any point.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. Like for real says many suffer from it and don't even know. And that's really the truth. And you've heard from Doc, you've heard from Marilyn. Mental health can happen to anybody. It happens to 1 in 5 people, which means that almost every single person has or is experiencing a mental health condition. If you notice that there's certain things about you that are changing, you get upset easily, just things around you are changing. You don't sleep right because some people just don't find sleep. That could be the beginning of something, and you might want to say something to somebody, maybe talk to a friend. If you're not feeling safe at home, like they always ask all pregnant women, are you safe at home? Immediately you say you have headache, they want to know if you're safe at home. Are you experiencing any kind of form of battery at home, or just abuse and stuff like that. So if you see something, say something. And I like this comment by Florence Ekukobe. She said, adding to what Doc said, analyze some of the statements uttered by husbands and wives. This is in the case of what happens from passion crimes that we've seen happening too much. If you hear your neighbors fighting every day and somebody is saying, I go kill you, I go kill you, all those things, if there are certain words that don't sit well, say something. Because if you don't say something, something terrible could happen and that would be on you. So say something. If you have a friend that is not acting okay, that has suddenly become sad, that cries all the time, something is going on there. Be one another's keeper, be your brother's keeper, be your sister's
Yeah.
keeper. Thank you so much, Doc and Marilyn. I had a wonderful time, and I want to thank you because you reached out to me on this topic, and I'm so glad that we put it in May because it's actually Mental Health Awareness Month. And I just feel so happy that we were able to talk about this. I hope that the viewers have learned something. I've learned so much from today's program. Like I never knew that my gut, my brain, all of these things I'm going to have to watch again. And please, ladies and gentlemen, share the program, share it later on with your communities, with your group of meeting people and stuff like that, because there's so much that was talked about on this show that will really, really help us so we can help more people in our community. Thank you so much, Doc and Marilyn.
Thank
Thank
you
I
for
hope that we
having
can
you.
do
us.
this. I hope we can do this again. Maybe we should, talk on something. We should work on maybe something, maybe talking about this once a month or once every 2 months, just something we can bring more people to talk about this, because I just feel like we need more awareness in the community. We just need
Yeah.
more police people, like we just need more army guards. Like
Mhm.
we need to be everybody's
Keeper.
keeper.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just so we avoid all this killings, suicides, murders, and all whatnot that's happening around. I
Yeah.
just really appreciate this time. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Marilyn. And I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. I know you ladies were hurrying to go somewhere, but thank you for staying and for sharing all this knowledge with us. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for
much.
having us.
Thank you.
All righty.
Anytime.
So, all right. Thank you so much. So we're just going to all right, ladies and gentlemen. So today we were talking about mental health, and then we touched on the passion crimes, the increase in passion crimes in our communities. These are things that we've heard about in different communities. But these days, we see it so rampant. Every day or every month, you want to wake up and there's something trending on the internet about somebody who killed someone or somebody who committed suicide. And we all can be one another's keeper. I want to thank all of you who were live on the show today, who commented, who participated. Mental health is not for others. Mental health is for all of us. And I'm going to put up this flyer again. 1 in 5 people, 1 in 5 people experience a mental health condition. So don't think that it's only for your neighbor. If something about you is changing, the way you eat, the way you sleep, if you feel suddenly sad all the time, you're always crying, if just things are happening around you, to your neighbors, to your friends, there's a friend that hasn't talked to you for a long time, reach out to them today, call them, find out how they're doing. Just ask them if everything is okay with them. Be one another's keeper, okay? Because just by doing that, you can save a life. All right, that's all we had for today's program. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope that you share the program and sensitize more people. We hope that you will be more vigilant as to the things that are happening around you and your friends and family members and even your own self, so that we don't find ourselves in that position where it's getting to a clinical state. Okay, we can make a difference in our lives. We can make a difference in our neighbors and friends' lives. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was Spotlight with Gwendy. We'll see you next Saturday for another enriching program. Thank you so much. Have a blessed rest of your weekend. We love you. Bye-bye.